Welcome back, everyone, for our next presentation. And I'd like to welcome up on stage another duo. We've got Becky Staker, who's the Vice President of Customer Experience at Actian, and Karen Langridge, who's the Sales and Account Director at Actian. We've been hearing about, throughout this conference, the multiple dimensions that often can make customer experience feel like it's quite difficult. But Becky and Karen are going to take us through a presentation that shows us how to make customer experience easy. So I'm sure that's going to be of interest to everyone. So Becky and Karen, take it away.
Thank you, Andy. So hello and welcome. Thank you for attending our session today. I'm Karen Langridge, Client Director, and my colleague Becky Staker is our VP of Customer Experience. I'm really pleased to introduce you to Becky Staker. So Becky is now part of HCL Actian, and she joined us as our VP of Customer Experience. She's responsible for improving customer journeys from awareness and consideration through purchase and post-purchase, and ultimately creating customer advocates along the way. She's very focused on customer excellence, brings a tenure of 20 years of improving customer experiences, impact, and outcomes. She's spent her career on customer excellence, brings in working globally across lots of industries, lots of leadership roles, including Ernst & Young, Deloitte's, software as service startups. She's directed customer marketing strategies, execution, buyer programs, digital marketing campaigns, alliance partnerships, lots and lots of marketing and client impact stories. So just thank you. So very, very honoured, very proud, very pleased to be here today. To give you a little bit about Actian, we are now part of HCL. We were acquired fully in December 2021. So we're within the HCL. HCL is an $11 billion business. We are within the software business. We're the data and analytics insights within that software business. So that's going to be amazing for us. Actian's history begins at data's very roots. We were in the room when data was born. We're very passionate about data and its potential. It transforms businesses. So over the last 5 decades, we've been relentlessly pioneering innovative technologies. We give our customers the ability to connect, manage, and analyze all mission critical data. We're confident that our vision for our customers is to experience working with Actian will be the most trusted and flexible and easy to use platform. So I'd like to now hand over to Becky. She'll take you through our story and how to make customer experience easy for you. I'm on hand to answer any questions, and I've got a customer, we've got a client case study to talk about at the end of the session. So yeah, hand over to Becky.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Karen, for that warm introduction and for the BNA team as well. Really excited to be with you all here today. Like Karen mentioned, I joined Actian very recently, only a few months ago. And so when you have this opportunity to talk about how to make customer experience easy, this is actually something I'm pretty passionate about, and something I'm also looking at. How do we make our own customer experience easy here at Actian? So what we're going to talk about today is really what that looks like, right, in terms of how the landscape has changed and what we're calling the new normal for customer analytics. So we'll talk a little bit about just kind of what the challenges we're all facing, right? How the world has really changed the customer experience, and what customers really expect of their service providers, their products that they actually are working with. So we'll talk about that to kind of set the stage, and then I'll walk through the opportunities for us as CX stakeholders of how we can take advantage, right, and really leverage these opportunities as CX stakeholders in this new normal. How can we make this a little bit easier on ourselves, but also the business we serve in our organization? And then finally, I will talk about how to make this customer experience easy. I'll go through a little bit about a case study of how we're thinking about it at Actian, again, from my role of how we're making our own customer experience easy, but also we have solutions that will help you and help others make this experience easier through a concept called a cloud data platform. So we'll give you an insight into that, just a touch, but we certainly would love to chat with you deeper. Feel free to ask questions in the chat throughout the session today. I'm joined by a number of my colleagues here at Actian that are happy to answer questions, any questions you have. So we want to make this dynamic and interactive. Please ask your questions in the chat. Or after the session, if you want to go a bit deeper, join us in our booth today so we can actually answer your questions and show you a little bit about the Avalanche platform. But as we get started first, we'll talk about the landscape, what's changed, right? And I think we can all relate to what we're calling the new normal in customer experience excellence. And it's harder than ever, no doubt, right? Over the last few years, the world has changed. We've all been there. We won't rehash a lot of what's happened here. But essentially the key theme here is unpredictability. We have to, as leaders, be responsive in real time to the changing world landscape, from doing business online, new customer expectations, on-demand service, all the different things, supply chain shocks, right? So the availability of goods and services, how do you look at your pricing and your margins of your business? Geopolitical issues, right? And social injustice, political unrest. There is a lot that's been happening in the last few years. And so it's making this harder than ever for us to respond in that real time, respond to the events around the world, but also within our business. How do we look at this as an opportunity to help our customers find ways to just make it a little bit easier to work with us? No doubt it's a hard challenge for anyone. And so when we think about what is really hard, right? What are the areas of opportunity for us? But also let's just recognize these challenges we're all going through as CX leaders. First of all, a lot of silos that exist, right? So if you think about the data you're trying to pull together to empower your customer journey and make those decisions to where we can improve the journey, that data is stuck in a lot of silos, right? It's probably in some different applications that maybe you don't have access to. You're having to ask someone to get that data point, or it's in a spreadsheet, or it's anywhere, right? So it's siloed data today that's hard to access. It's hard to maintain. It's hard to bring that together. Then also, what's the integrity of that data? What's the quality? Is it clean? Is it accurate? Is it formatted in the right way that we can be responsive to? Also, the integration can be challenging. How do you bring this data together from a single point of view to look at that more holistic signals across your customer journey? End users have changed, right? So we want to make sure that we're not just providing data back to our analysts, to our business analysts or the business stakeholders, but we also want to empower and evangelize that data to the front lines, right? And bring that contextualized data to them where they can actually serve our customers directly. And then last, we don't want to waste a lot of our time, right? We can spend a lot of resources, or it can be hard to kind of bring this data together. But that leads to also real time, as we want to bring all this stuff together, because essentially what we're trying to do here is provide real time data back to the business and ourselves so we can make smarter decisions about our customer journey. So it's not easy. I think we can all relate to that. And this is why we're hopefully here today to give you a few nuggets of things you can take back to make this a little bit easier. And so if you think about the concept of customer data analytics, this is where it all comes together. And this is some of the things we hear from our customers, right? These are the challenges they're facing. And we actually sell to CX and marketing operations stakeholders. So this is pretty commonly what we hear. But essentially, one of the things that we're hearing the most is they want full control of the customer data. They want that ability to collect that data, explore it, synthesize the data, and make smart decisions based on that data. And again, it's not easy, right? But that's essentially what they're trying to do here, is provide a view of customer data analytics. And again, that challenge, right, is actually getting the unified view of the customer. It's not easy. And you recognize it's probably coming from many different areas. There's a diversity of applications. There's marketing platforms, right? Your MarTech stack, what you're looking at, brand information, campaign information. There's your CRM data, really run customer relationships. There's your product usage data. How are they engaged with your product? There's a lot of data. So how do you unify? And how do you make sure that's quality data that you can take action on? And just the final point here about data silos, they do exist in our modern application, in our modern organization. There's a lot of great applications out there that provide tremendous value and tremendous amount of data. And you may recognize or work with a number of these applications, but it's not easy. Unifying customer insights is not as always available, even despite the integrations are available with some of these applications. So you need a way to really make this easier on yourself and your organization, but also provide what we call a single pane of glass to have one view that your organization can look at together from the business perspective, from the data perspective, and from your perspective. If you're looking at the same data, in an easy way to understand that data better. And so this presents a tremendous opportunity for us as CX stakeholders. We view this as an opportunity to be the champion for bringing data together easily through a single unified cloud platform. And essentially what we're recommending here is that you look at that opportunity for yourself, right? To be that champion. Because your business is asking for it. And so this is actually one of the surveys we conducted last fall. We actually interviewed about 450 senior leaders across the business about their data analytics journey and what were some of the top use cases, right, or business outcomes they were hoping to achieve through this data. And customer analytics is number one. No doubt there was an emphasis on customer analytics and understanding your customer, providing personalization to that customer. And we're hearing this across the board within our customer base, but also across the market. So this is, again, an opportunity for you to take advantage of that, right? And really lean into what are the data opportunities for you. Also, measuring customer KPIs was one of the top use cases we also heard, right? So it's not just about getting the data together, it's how do you action the data? What are the KPIs that matter the most to the business? And a lot of that was around customer experience KPIs. So myself, right, and Actian, we see that as a tremendous opportunity for us to work together and refine some of those use cases, right, and how you can make this an opportunity for your organization. And so when we talk with our customers, these are the most common customer and marketing analytics data projects that we hear, right, and you may be very much familiar with. You think about it, it's really 3 stages of the customer journey. There's the acquisition phase, right? What you're trying to do here is understand the personas, the ideal customer profiles, leveraging data, leveraging qualitative feedback, leveraging segmentation techniques, all those different areas to acquire the right type of customer. To understand that customer better so you can attract and retain that customer, which actually leads into the retention, right? Once you become a customer, you want to make sure you understand them. You know, what are their needs? What are things that are most important to them? How can you understand the personas or the use cases more broadly so you actually can start to look at potential expansion opportunities within that customer? You know, upsell or personalization areas for retention and long-term loyalty. And then the third phase is expansion, right? You want to also understand your customer in a way that serves their needs, but also provide opportunities to help expand their business, right? Expand your business with them. And essentially what you're trying to do here is help them grow. With your growth, you're also trying to help them grow their business and understand their customer better. So as you can see here, there's many different opportunities for data, but how do you unify this together? How do you understand the journeys from a data-driven perspective? So a quick visual, won't go into detail here, but this is how we think about the different data consolidated profiles. So what you're doing here is you're looking at the different data sets that come from many different sources, right? And we've talked about some of those, your MarTech stack, engagement data, and maybe your mobile app, right? Or your website or your product you offer. It could be data that you're purchasing to append data, behavior data, demographic data. It may also become in many different formats, Excel files, CSVs, right? APIs, maybe direct data connects to that application. It can be complicated, right? It comes in many different ways. So how do you make sure you can find a way to access that data and also enrich that data to provide the ideal customer profile so you can understand those customers better in those segments? So again, you can target them, you can segment them, you can understand, you can personalize the experience for those customers. There's a lot of power in bringing this data together to really understand the opportunity there. And so just to wrap up the opportunities, this is how we think is an opportunity for us here at Actian, but also for you and your organization, is one of the first steps is unifying that data to really understand what's possible, understand your customers better, understand the customer profiles. So you can provide personalization opportunities for your customers. Personalizing the experience is table stakes. The world's changed. We demand, and we have a new behavior expectation that I want a personalized experience. I want you to understand as a brand what's important to me. Understand how I can actually, leverage your product or service to the best of my own needs. And data helps to provide that experience, or at least gives us insight into what can be possible. At the end of the day, what we're doing is we're using customer data to improve business outcomes. And the ultimate outcome is customer loyalty. They become a customer and they stick with us because we've provided great value of service to this customer, or great value of different products or services that they need. And so that's really the end state here, is we're trying to get to the business outcome right around customer loyalty. And so how do we do this? How do we make customer experience easy? I'll give you a little insight here at Actian of how I'm thinking about it, how we're thinking about customer experience. So I joined a few months ago, brand new, and this is an opportunity for us as a business to double down on customer experience. As Karen mentioned, we've been around for 50 plus years, and we have a phenomenal customer base. We have incredible loyalty from our customers, right? But we also know that they're also in the new normal. Their landscapes are changing. They have to be responsive to customer needs. They have to be responsive to geopolitical and these other things that we talked about, right? So how can we think about making their lives easier as we continue to advance our products and services we offer to them? So we're also thinking about from our perspective, how can we in turn, knowing our customers or attracting our new ideal customer profile areas as we grow our business, how do we make that easier on ourselves here at Actian? And so one of the things that we're looking at, we've done a really good job of understanding what data is possible from these different siloed areas. In some cases, a very manual effort to actually get that data into a spreadsheet. I'm sure we all have our spreadsheets for tracking, and we're no different. We're doing that today. But I'm really excited about the potential of the Avalanche platform to actually bring that data together to unify it. So one of our programs we work on is actually a pretty critical program for us. And right now it takes 6 people to actually pull the data together for us to really understand that journey of those customers going through this program. And so we're also looking at how can we get this in a centralized view where we actually can make better decisions on the signals we're seeing in the data. So we can spend less time looking at the data, understanding the data, and more on action, more on the signals, more on the initiatives that we need to double down on, right, to make that a better experience for our customers. And so we'll talk a little bit about how you do this, right? And this is also how I'm going through this process. So I thought it'd be helpful to walk you through how I think about this and how we can make this easier for our customers. Essentially what this is a concept called the Customer Data Analytics Hub. So there's 4 distinct phases of how you look at a Customer Data Analytics Hub. The first phase is, as we've talked about a little bit, is you want to access that data. And that may not be easy. It may be living in some area that you can't access. It may be living in a resource group. You have to wait to get resource. But there are ways to access that through a platform to make that a little bit easier on you and the resources that'll help support you to do this, to access that data. But actually, once we get the data and we access it, then we want to integrate the data, right, through a single experience, or what we call a single pane of glass. Additionally, we want to enrich the data. This could be append data, right? Maybe purchase demographic behavior data to make that data just a little bit more actionable and interesting for us to understand our ideal customer profiles. Once you get that data and enrich it and get it into a good data set, then you want to explore that data, unify that data. And that actually gives the aha moments, right? How can we actually, maybe there's additional data we want to go append, right? From the Customer Data Analytics Hub perspective. And the third step is visualizing the data. So that's tools like BI, right? Power BI or Looker. How do we understand the data from a business perspective and match that back to the KPIs of the business to understand what's working and what's not? How can we forecast, predict, or continue to build upon that data, action the data? And then an ongoing process is optimization, right? So we want to make sure we're responsive to real time and not last month's or even last week or even yesterday's information. We need to continue to optimize this to make sure we're looking at the most up-to-date data possible to take action on the signals we're seeing in the data. So to walk this through a little bit in more detail, and bear with me, it is a little bit of an eye chart. So I'll walk from left to right. This is the concept of what we call that Customer Data Analytics Hub. And so what you're doing here is you're looking at, real-time analytics that's actually looking from the business to the data stakeholder to the CX stakeholder, right? Anyone that's really accountable to that CX customer journey. And so what you're doing is you're bringing together all these disparate groups and silos, right, to look at that, what we call a single pane of glass into one lens of the data and what's possible. And it may be coming from Salesforce, right? It may be coming from Google Cloud. Maybe you've got a data warehouse, right? Or another data platforms that you're pulling from. But it's unifying that data into a single pane of that glass so the entire business looking at it together can have that singular view of what the data looks like. The next stage is that integration. So you want to start to integrate the different data sources. You want to understand the access to the data sources. And that gives you the ability to look at this more holistically, right, across many different areas. And so that's the next phase. And then the final phase is that BI layer I talked about. And this is where the power of the business perspective comes in, is actually visualizing the data from a business KPI perspective. And so there's already a lot of great tools out there that we integrate with. Looker, Power BI, Tableau. You may have a homegrown analytics dashboard or maybe another third party. But that's the power of unifying that data from a platform perspective, enriching and accessing that data, but then also applying an analytics layer to that data to make sure you can make actionable decisions on the information. And so what does this look like, right? Let's bring it down to tangibility. And so this is an example of a Power BI dashboard that we developed for showing today. It is de-identified data, but it actually is real data. And so what we're looking at here, and you look on the top right-hand side, is it's a Power BI for dashboard modeling, right? And we're looking at a data quality monitor. So we brought in different data sources from Salesforce, Marketo, SalesLoft. Right now we're looking at the Salesforce view. And so as we are able to access this data together in the customer profiles, we can now see what quality is that data? How can we enrich that data to get better quality? Or maybe we need to go clean up the data, right, to get that to that quality standard that we as an organization have defined, right, for our business. And so this gives you the ability to look at a quality perspective. And essentially what you're looking at here is accuracy, completeness of the data, uniqueness of the data, validity, consistency of the data, and integrity. And so this allows you to actually look at this in one view, and you can filter on the different areas to see across those different systems, how many records do I have, right? What's the number of completed records versus incomplete? Where do we need to go do some cleanup to, again, you're trying to get to a data to a good state where we can apply the analytics on. And that leads me to the next screen. So another example of Power BI, and we have templates for these so to get you started, is around our customer analytics dashboard. And this is where the magic happens, where this is where the power of the data unifying together can happen as well. And so this is another Power BI example. So again, at this stage, you've already unified, you've already connected the data, you've already integrated the different data sources, you've queried the data, you've actually built out in the platform of what you're wanting to look at. And then now you're looking at the visualization layer of that data. So in this case, this is actually a Salesforce example. And this actually allows you to see the number of connections is about 140,000 connections. And now we can start to go into those connections and analyze that based on persona, based on region, right? Whatever layer that you feel is important to your business. This gives you that ability to look at more in-depth detail behind some of these data points. We also have a Customer 360 dossier that allows the user to search for a specific user based on their needs. So it's not just looking at holistically, it's also going to look at those customers, right, in more detail. And so it gives you the ability to kind of toggle between the different views, but also go deep in areas that you're hoping to learn more about. And this is exactly how we're thinking about it from our customer experience program perspective here at Actian. We're looking at what is the journey, right? And how do we measure these and look at these from a BI perspective? But we also want to go deep in certain areas, such as usage behavior, right? Or time to log in, right? From some different key metrics that we're tracking. So this gives us the ability to visualize that information in a dashboard perspective, but also as a leader, I want to go deeper. I want to learn more, right? And in a visualization perspective, I can do that through the platform. And so this shows you the end state of what's possible, right? We wanted to show you some pretty great dashboards that we're pretty excited about. But then we also want to show you how do you do this, right? How is this possible through Avalanche? And actually, it's quite easy. There's 3 key steps in the Avalanche platform. The first thing you want to do is actually create a warehouse, right? And think of a warehouse as a place in the cloud, if you will, that has structured and unstructured data that's just living there, right? You want to get your data in the cloud, right, in the warehouse, to just get it in a good place where you can actually start to query the data, understand that data. So that's the first step you do. And then you want to start to actually integrate the different data sources, right? So you create the warehouse, you start to bring the data of different data sources, and this could be, again, from your Salesforce, it could be Marketo, it could be a flat file that you upload, or whatever format you have. It's flexible to allow you the ability to do that, but that's your next step, right? Start to connect the different data that you have available to you. Then the third step is, again, connecting those BI tools, right? We show you an example today of Power BI, but this is where, in my perspective, the magic happens, right? After you've gotten to that query, the data quality, understanding what's possible, then we want to start to look at this from the business perspective, the different KPIs that we're tracking across our CX program, but also across the business. And so then you're connecting your BI tool. And it's that easy. It's actually bringing that all together into that singular view that we showed. And it's really three easy steps to get you started on that journey. And you can start today. You actually can go on our website and take the free trial of the product and get started today to see what's possible. And if you do, I'd love your feedback about our free trial and what you think is working well, or maybe some opportunities for us to consider around the customer experience in the free trial program. And so I'll just close it out here with some of the cloud data platform benefits. One of the key things here is we are what we're trying to do here is make us more data driven as a business to make smarter decisions based on data, looking at the signals, looking at opportunities as CX stakeholders. We also want to empower our frontline employees to have that information with contextualized information, but also make it relevant for what's possible in their roles. The other goal we want to cover in the benefits is a single pane of glass, right? Yourself, your business, other business stakeholders, maybe your data team are looking at the same information and not in the different views or maybe cuts of the data, right, that you're all looking at. You want to have that single pane of view so you can actually look at and understand that data together. And so with that being said, I'm going to turn over to Karen that's going to walk you through one of our customer stories. Pretty excited about what they've been able to achieve. And also sometimes there's some complicated areas, right? And we want to make sure that we're flexible in the platform and the service we provide to make this easier for you. So I'll turn over to Karen that's going to walk us through a customer story and what they were able to achieve. Karen.
Thank you, Becky. So today's customer reference is the AA. So the AA, some of you will know, is a UK insurance company. They've been around quite a few years, but 8 years ago, they wanted to sell motor insurance online. So in the UK, if you want to get a motor insurance quote, you normally go onto an aggregator site, something like GoCompare.com, CompareTheQuote.com. There's lots and lots of aggregators, but the one that can serve up the quote the fastest wins the business. So when they looked at the market years ago, they came to us and said, how can you help? And they embarked on a customer-centric platform. They wanted something flexible. They wanted something hybrid, so on-prem and in the cloud. They wanted something to provide real-time analytics. It had to be fast. It had to deliver split-second response times. So the challenge was insurance companies, the top billing goes to the fastest. So the solution had to be able to underwrite and deliver a quote in like 400ths of a second. And Actian, our software, brought all that together. So the Avalanche is the cloud data platform. All of the integration is built in. You get that free of charge. That is very compelling. Okay, you don't have to go out and buy a data integration tool or an ETL tool. You get all that included. So the outcome with Avalanche, you can analyze all of the applicant data. You can enrich the data from public sources. You can look at accident, histories, fraud. It delivers a risk-based competitive quote in fractions of a second. So they were really happy. They sit on top their whatever BI tool of their choice. And it seamlessly integrates and it gives them that speed and performance. So that results in a happy customer. The platform can grow as you grow. You can start small and you can expand out. So that is a quick overview. We've got thousands of customer references, but that's quite a good customer analytics case study. And you can start, like Becky said, start today. So you can download your free warehouse, your free Actian Avalanche. Download it today. We'll help you. We've got customer success. We've got pre-sales. We've got a lot of people that can help you. So come talk to us about what is your, solution. What does your business need? Talk to us about your challenges and let us make it easy for you. So we're going to go across now to any questions. So be interested to hear from anyone in the audience if they have any questions, anything that Becky's talked about that kind of raises, talk to us about questions.
Yes, do fire questions in for Karen and Becky. And while we're waiting for you to do that, a lot of our organizations have got this problem of silos and legacy data, and it's really hard to get a 360-degree view. So what you've outlined, I think, makes a very compelling case. If you can bring all that data together while not having to change all your back office systems in the process, that's a much quicker way to getting to the insight that's needed. What do you see as the main barriers that organizations face to doing this? Is it lack of will? Is it lack of vision? Are organizations still thinking in a siloed manner? Is it that IT are not on board with this? What are the main barriers? Why haven't all organizations got this capability now? And how do we unlock that? If organizations are sitting here listening to your story here, seeing that they face some of those challenges, what are the barriers that we need to unlock to move the market more quickly to this more holistic 360-degree view of customer engagement?
Yeah, I'll start, and then Karen, maybe you can sprinkle in what you've heard from the customer perspective directly. But it's actually all those things you just mentioned. We've heard all of that feedback, right? It's lack of resources, right? Or it's just in the backlog, right? Or maybe there's not a general understanding of why it's important, right? So even just making it can be sometimes difficult for CX stakeholders. And so one of the most powerful things that I found in my experience is it's really, sometimes you have to go through the silo process, right? And that's where you start. That's the journey, is let's just understand what's even possible, right? Let's kind of keep that simple and understand from a data perspective what's even possible, how we want to measure that journey. And then you start to build the case for why, right? And I think the best thing that I would recommend is to anchor that to the business metrics, right? So there may be certain programs or initiatives that you're trying to kick off and evangelize that data or get access to that data to make that more data driven. But how are you connecting that back to the business goals, right? How you understand the business KPIs and how that will help support the business KPIs. And so very similar to what we're doing here at Actian is making sure that, anything we do is really tied to the business and understanding what's possible. And that invites a broader conversation of what's needed, right? Once you have that foundation built of what we're trying to achieve, aligning that to the business, then what's needed from a resourcing or data connection perspective. And that usually will invite further conversations of access, right? But Karen, I'll invite you. You're on the front lines with a lot of our customers, and what you're hearing, we'll invite you to also comment as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. So a lot of customers do have the data. So it's not like we have to build something from scratch. It's like, how do we simplify it? How can we connect, manage, and analyze the data that they have? How can we enable them to be more confident, to derive, better insights about what they've got? So having a cloud data platform like Avalanche, like literally you can start so small. They could start with just, a few $100, a few $1,000. It's literally, you just buy some Avalanche units. And then once you have that in place, we can scale it out. We can pull in the data from all the systems they have. We can use the BI tools they have in place at the moment. So, and it doesn't matter what cloud vendor, say they're an AWS, and Azure, a Google Marketplace, doesn't matter. We run on all cloud platforms. So once we have that platform, we can then build out, we'll align to what the strategic business objectives are. So it could be to increase revenue, it could be an acquisition, it could be just to improve stakeholders' visibility of revenue in any industry as well. We work across all industries. So, just throw us your challenge and we will help. Start small, prove to the business, and then you can actually use the platform in earnest, and it can become sort of more mainstream. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of companies are moving to the cloud. A lot of companies are still having on-prem, but we're hybrid. We can do on-prem and in the cloud. We are also having a virtual private cloud. So if you're worried about public cloud, we can run this in a virtual private cloud. So it can be a VPC environment. So IT are happy, security, CISOs are happy. But yeah, does that answer your question, Andy?
Yes, it does. I see, Becky, you've answered a question that was posed by Alexandra, which is
I'm happy to take that here.
Do you want to take that? Just for those who haven't seen the chat.
I couldn't tell if it was a private chat or the group chat too, so I want to make sure I addressed her. So I'll talk about how we do this from the Actian perspective, and then also again invite Karen. She's working directly with our customers and how they're presenting this information to C-suite. But absolutely, we leverage this data and share. In fact, we have a readout on some of our programs with our leadership team about once a month or so, right? And we're actually presenting this data that's relevant for them, right? And we're presenting it in a way that's contextualized, right? Of the why, with highlights, KPI deep dives, right? Some areas of our business. So that's why the BI dashboard is important, right? To give you that roll-up view, right? And also align those back to the business KPIs, so you can have that more business-driven discussion at the C-suite. But Karen, you probably have heard from our customers of how they're leveraging this information at the C-suite, and would invite you also to comment.
Yeah, okay. I can't see the question, but
Sure. Yeah, I'll read it to you. It says, great tool and visual presentation of data. Do you use it for C-suite communication as well? So I think when I was presenting, I'm assuming when I was presenting some of the dashboard views of the data quality and then the customer analytics, it's how is that information being presented to the C-suite?
Yeah, so if it's being presented in report format, we can actually visualize that in the BI tool of your choice. So I guess it depends what sort of information the C-suite need, whether it's figures or facts and figures, or whether it's more visual. But absolutely, yeah, it can be actually anything. It can be, if you tell us how you wanted it to be represented, we have the team that will help you build it. So yeah, it can be represented in any way.
I want to ask you a really quite difficult question. I'm not suggesting you got an answer to this, but it's a challenge for all of us working in this industry, I think, which is certainly digital channels in particular give us an opportunity to collect more data, more information about what's going on. But some would say, well, that's transactional data. There are events that happen that we can collect data on. So that will tell us what happened, but it won't necessarily tell us why that happened. Why did the customer think this? What are they thinking that led them to do this? Can we get behind the transactional data to the emotional, the intent, what is it that customers are thinking and feeling that we can, if we could see better, we could speak to in our service, and certainly as we look to personalize, we can cultivate and develop deeper relationships if we can get behind the data to those feelings and intents that drive people to do the things they do. Some of that you can get from call center, the sort of unstructured data. So there are ways of sort of trying to get commentary, if you like, on what's going on as well as the data itself. How are you seeing organizations and technology being able to develop even deeper insights to customers' motives, intentions, beliefs, feelings that lead them to do the things that they do that we then collect the data on?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, no doubt. I'll just speak from my perspective a little bit, and again, invite Karen if she's got any additional commentary. It's definitely not easy, but it's, the data is a signal, right? It's a starting point for contextualizing the data, right? And you want to marry that qualitative and quantitative feedback because it does give you a good story, right? What's possible, but nothing can replace getting feedback directly from your customers. Yeah. And so one of the clients I've worked with in the past was actually a university. And one of the things that they were a very similar challenge with is we've got so much data about our students, right, of their journey of coming to a university, and how do we continue to move them through the university to graduation. That was their goal, is to help their students graduate, of course. So they're trying to understand that very first year, what are some of the things that they're seeing in their student data, whether they're grades, right? These kind of, let's just call it transactional data for lack of a better term as well for the university side. But it's all these moments, right? It's all these like, okay, there's a grade here, or maybe they logged into the online platform here, but what's really telling us about this data, about their student success journey? And so one of the things we worked with them on is we did a journey map of those students their very first year. And this is even before they started the university. And so we were able to actually outline what data is available to us in that journey, but also what is our perspective as a university of how we view our students going through that journey, and essentially where are those friction points, right? Where are the drop-off points where they're struggling, may not come back. And then we also provided the student perspective. And the only way we can get that is going to talk with students, right? Getting that information from them directly to understand their pain points of, maybe there's something happening at home that's challenging them from going to class, right? There may be a lot of different information of why their student journey may be difficult in some cases. And so once we were able to map those two point of views together, then that's where the magic happened, right? And finding the deltas between how we feel, what the data says, what the student was saying, and then we could design intervention programs to help them succeed through that first year. So very similar. We're doing the same thing here at Actian. Is we've got access to an incredible amount of data, right? Users of the product, engagement data in the product, sales data, marketing data. And so we're doing something very similar. We have our beliefs of how we feel our customers are experiencing our platform and our products and our services, but now we need to layer in the customer perspective. And I think that's where you find some power in the contextualization of where those opportunities are for your customer journey.
Yeah, no, that's a point very well made. And certainly earlier in this conference, we were talking about what does value mean for the customer? What's the job they're trying to get done? And it raises an interesting question about, are we able to collect measures that help us see how well we're helping the customer do what they want to do, as opposed to the data about how well the customer is using our products and services? We must flip it on its head. How well are we helping the customer to achieve the things that they really want to do? And so, which is a measure of our effectiveness in delivering the value that customers are seeking in their lives. But Becky and Karen, this is super interesting. Thank you for giving such a clear and comprehensive view of the data landscape and the possibilities to and advantages of being able to integrate and see that 360-degree view, and also the low-cost ways in which you can start your experiment and journey into that space if this is something that you haven't yet done or want to explore a different way of doing it. So thank you once again for sharing that. Do reach out to Becky and Karen if you want more information about what they do, what they've discovered from their working with lots of customers, or any of these the avalanche approach to taste the product or test the water, whatever metaphor you want to use. There are opportunities to explore with Actian that as well. So do reach out to them. And once again, thanks so much to Becky and Karen.
Thank you all for your time. We appreciate your participation today.
Thank you. Really great to meet you. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.